Hello, Llama Gang. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. My name is Trauma Llama, and welcome back to another episode of Meet the Community. This episode today is a very special one. Today we have with us the owner of GamersRdy himself, Alex. Alex, would you like to say a quick hello to everyone?
Hey, yeah, I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. So for today's episode, me and Alex are going to be playing some casual 2v2s, and while we play, I'm going to be asking him some questions about GamersRdy. Are you ready to go?
I am. I will try and multitask, and we'll see how it goes.
Perfect. Let's jump right in. All right, Alex, so I know this first question is going to be a very broad one, but how did you come up with the concept for GamersRdy?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it not too long without going to every single detail, but I guess to give a bit of context to myself, so I've always been a person that loves to come up with ideas. So probably since the age of 12, 13, I've kind of been dabbling with different ideas, whether that be one of the first things that I kind of got into all through gaming was designing games. So I was doing apps back in 2009, 2010 sort of time. So, the iOS store was still quite new. And all of that was just about learning and getting to grips with the idea of actually working with other people. The latest one that I was doing called Rusit, which is now not working on that anymore, but that was starting to die off probably about 2.5 years ago now. And so, as I always do, I was just carrying on trying to think of more ideas. Just the biggest reason that I wanted to do these things was just because I wanted to learn, and the more things I could get into, the better. And so I was thinking more ideas, and a lot of them were terrible. And I'd constantly ask my wife, I'd say, "What do you think of this idea?" She's like, "No, that's terrible." So it was great in terms of getting instant and very honest feedback, which is what I needed. And then the idea, we were driving back one day from work, and I said, "What about the idea of people being able to upload their gaming footage and other people being able to review that?" So she was like, "Oh, that sounds quite interesting. I think people would actually want that." I was like, "Seriously? You don't even care about gaming?" But and she's like, "No, I think there's plenty of people that would be interested in doing that." So that was my initial okay, well, if my wife is saying this, that's a good start. Let's see what other people think. And I guess over those next 3 or 4 months, that was the start of GamersRdy, where I was looking into getting a very basic understanding of what this could look like. And obviously at that point, it's still very different to what it is now. And that was very much uploading a video, people reviewing it. It's almost like a community reviewing that video. And there's plenty of that stuff going on. If you go on Reddit, there's stuff like that already. Yeah. But the biggest, change happened was when at that point it was just me, but when we started to, talk to the community. So I emailed a few different YouTubers, and Fluump was one of those. Brett, I don't refer to him as Fluump, but so we started talking, and as soon as he replied to my email, I was super excited. I was like, "Wow, a guy with 25,000 subscribers has actually replied to me." It was absolutely crazy. Little did I ever think that, go forwards 2 years, he'd have the amount of subscribers he has now, and also be working and talking every day. Yeah. But basically, from there we were talking and discussing and really trying to plan out how this thing would look. And it actually evolved over time. We thought it would be better to ask the community what they actually wanted. And they said that live coaching was actually generally better than sending a video and reviewing it. So we started to think, okay, how can this actually work in practice? The idea that somebody, who can review? Well, anyone can review. Do we want that? So all these different questions that we were asking, and it kind of started to narrow down into actually we want people that are very talented at what they do, and we want this to be about quality, just opposed to actually doing it. Because a Plat 3 can review an analysis, a video, and that's fine, and that's great if you're a Bronze 2 or 3, for example. But what we wanted was quality. So that's when we started to talk to potential coaches, and as those kind of first few months started to go on, we put a survey out. We had about 2,000 people reply to that survey. That was from Fluump's channel, and that was really helpful in terms of getting an idea to where it would go, and the feedback that people were giving. And then we also, at that same time, we're talking to potential coaches and just getting their feedback and their ideas on board. So that was the start, the history of it, if that's all good.
Yeah. If I could ask you, what are some of the obstacles you encountered while getting the business started?
Yeah, I think actually one of the bigger ones was just the legal setup of it. So just setting up a company, that was probably something that I hadn't done before. So in these previous projects that I was talking about, we'd always started, we had a website and all that sort of stuff, but we never actually kind of gone full on and actually built it, which is what you need. You know, if any sort of money is being transacted, you need, you know, tax and all that sort of stuff has to be accounted for. So that was one of the first kind of things that I was most unfamiliar with. And then I guess the actual build of the website, of the platform itself. So getting to grips with, you know, how a profile is going to work, how is somebody going to book a coach, how will refunds work. I don't know, everything that goes around it needs to be considered as much as possible. So yeah, those probably were the two main things. And throughout both of those, I guess it was always a case of understanding who our audience was. And that was, I don't know if you consider that an obstacle, maybe more of just a learning process, but that was, that was probably part of it as well.
Awesome. So are you an avid gamer yourself? I know you played Rocket League a little bit. Are there, you know, many other games that you like to play before, you know, you started on this project, or?
I think if I had more time, there would be. Yeah, definitely. Okay. I love the idea of there's loads of games that I will see, whether it be new games, whether it be old games. When I was growing up, I used to play this really old game, which I'm sure nobody's ever heard of, called Strongholds Crusader, and it was a strategy game, and I loved it. I played the whole campaign. And then when I was probably 14, 15, so almost 10 years ago now, there was this game called Trackmania, which is, you know, slightly more related to Rocket League, and that's basically just driving around a track and trying to get the fastest time as possible. And you could do some crazy. I'd be designing tracks, and that was kind of my first step into online gaming. Esports maybe is probably the best way, because I helped manage a server where we had about 200 people on average, which is actually, it was very popular back then in terms of number of players that were on our servers, that was probably what I played the most for probably 4 or 5 years, and cool. That was about it. And now I only play maybe 2 hours on average a week of Rocket League. That's about it.
Gotcha. Is there anyone that you could point to as a big inspiration for you when you were starting GamersRdy, or was it just your experience from past startups and stuff that kind of inspired you?
It was 100% the instant reaction of my wife, Abby, when I said the idea, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you should try it." I was like, "Okay, there's potential for this." Yeah. She's very often right, so I listened. So by far, that was the number one. I think I don't know if it's inspiration, but at least kind of initial feedback, because I was throwing ideas every other day, and this one stuck. So, and then I guess also the communication and the initial conversations I was having with Brett. We discussed loads of different potential routes that GamersRdy could go down, but he was obviously massively part of it. In terms of like inspiration, maybe, I don't know, some motivational speaker or something. No, I don't know. It's just, as you say, the progress.
No, that's a good answer though. Your wife's positive reaction spurred you on.
Yeah, definitely.
So how many coaches do you currently have working for GamersRdy?
There are about 40, more or less. Okay. There's a few that were with us but aren't with us anymore, because so for example, Jake was with us, he's obviously moved on to TSM, and then there's a few coaches who were with us, but then life got in the way, sort of thing, and you can't obviously carry on doing coaching if you're, I don't know, working a full-time job and you don't, whatever. Yep. So that was it. But yeah, there's about 40 now, and going strong.
That includes CSGO as well, not just Rocket League, correct?
Yeah, so if you include CSGO, we don't have many for CSGO, so it would probably be closer to 50 in total between the two.
Gotcha. So if someone was interested in becoming a coach for GamersRdy, how would they go about that?
So for CSGO, applications are open. For Rocket League, they're closed, basically. Okay. So the reason at the moment is I guess it's to do with supply and demand. That's generally the focus of how businesses work. But at the same time, we also have I don't know, it was about 400 or 500 applications when we had the applications open, and obviously you can't have 400 or 500 coaches for a platform, especially when you're talking about exclusivity and quality. And I am sure if some of these people had applied back in October 2018, then maybe that would have been possible. But it's just to do with the amount of coaches that we have now. They've got a huge amount of experience. They're really, really talented. Both me and Brett get on with them really well, and they're super talented coaches, all of them. And so that's the standard that we have. And so sometimes there are new coaches that do come along and that we can add them on as well. So that often works if it's being recommended to me or to Brett. So for argument's sake, if Brett messages me saying, "Hey man, Alex, this is guy, he's super good, like you have to get him on." Okay, if Brett's saying that, I'm obviously going to listen. I'm not going to be like, no. So it's mainly through recommendations, but generally speaking, what we say is there's a kind of very high standard at the moment, and if you're connected in some way with RLCS in terms of that level, whether you be a caster, whether you be a player or whatever, then there's more of a chance, obviously, of things working out. But yeah, awesome. and for CS:GO, it's open. Again, having Global Elite as the highest rank. That being the minimum, I guess you could say, and then there's ESA ranking and Face It rankings as well. Again, the higher those are, then the more likely someone can be. But the links to apply to CS:GO is in the footer of the CS:GO website.
Wonderful. With the esports scene growing more and more every year, do you find that there is a greater need for people needing coaching currently?
Short answer, yes. How that works in practice is very much an individual basis. So I think esports is the most exciting thing as far as entertainment industry goes. We already know that the gaming industry is huge. I mean, it's bigger than the music and film industry combined. Yeah. So it's there's no comparison. It's I think it's $100 billion industry. Wow. So the knock-on effects of that trickle down into esports, and as more people get into gaming, more people, a smaller percentage, but more people also get into esports and viewing and watching and learning. Yep. So I think the more that esports specifically grows, then the more people want to aspire to that. So, for example, the World Cup that's just finished for Fortnite, that's a good example of headlines, basically, where kids will go to their parents and say, "Hey, look, this kid won $3 million. I can do that as well." It's like, no, you can't. you probably can't. But it's a good example of something that's actually showing that the industry as a whole is growing, and there are many opportunities, I would argue, outside of just being one of the best players in the world. So coaching comes into that, where these players want to be better at the game and they enjoy the game. Like if there isn't that design in the first place, like just stop playing, sort of thing. Like you have to enjoy the game itself. But two, there's very much the I guess the value. So generally speaking, it comes. I think the best value comes from when you've been playing a game for quite a while, and then you think, okay, I want to take this up a level. That's when you, I think, it makes a lot more sense to actually hire a coach, and you're getting expert advice from somebody that has been at your level, a year ago, and they can tell you the stuff that's going to get you much further ahead than you would have been. So I guess that's the point. It's very much, you have to value the idea, and if you don't value the idea, then obviously, and I think that's the vast majority of people don't see that. I think the idea of being coached for a video game is still quite a new concept. So I think it's going to take a while before it becomes more and more mainstream. Maybe it will never be mainstream, but I think it's definitely part of Rocket League a lot more now than what it was a year and a half, for example.
Are there any new games on the horizon that GamersRdy is planning on expanding to, or are you just planning on sticking with these two for now?
So we will be adding one more game. We're aiming to do that by the end of the year. What game that is specifically, we haven't announced yet. Similar to what we did with CS:GO, we kept it to ourselves, I guess, initially. That just allows us, first of all, to not have any time pressure. I mean, I've just given myself time pressure, so that's a bit ironic. But, no, in general, we like to do things our own pace, and the thing that we care about most is the quality itself. Absolutely. So making sure that we aren't rushing into things just because people know that we're launching in 3 weeks' time. Okay, we have to quickly get something by. It's like, no, we don't need to do that. There's no reason for us to do that. So yeah, that's very much so. But to answer your question, there isn't anything that's announced yet, but there is. It's going to be. I mean, I can say obviously it's going to be one of the bigger games that are out. Awesome. So that reduces it to 4 or 5 different options probably. But yeah. So
people do have something to look forward to for the GamersRdy expanding, essentially.
Yeah, for sure, cool. For sure. And one of the things that we really want to do, and we are doing massively with Rocket League at the moment, is adding depth to that. So I guess you could say adding coaching services is fine. Like that's quite straightforward. There's there's plenty of ways we can do that quite quickly. But what we want to do is there's the whole community side, there's the whole event side, there's the whole I guess depth to that game, resources, guides, news, all this sort of stuff. And if you go onto the GamersRdy Rocket League side of the website, there is that. You know, we do community montages, we do obviously all the resources, we do community events, tournaments, like all this sort of stuff is stuff that we're doing, not intensely, but we want to add that depth, and we don't want to be this corporation that's like funded and that's like all this. That's not what we are. It's just me and Brett, like learning day by day, trying to make this I guess a community and just a place that people can get better at Rocket League and can get better at CSGO and can get better at the next game that we bring out. So it's adding that depth to what we do, as opposed to just being, hey, how many coaches can we get so we can get more money? It's like, it's not that. It's not all about.
It's definitely quality over quantity.
It is. And obviously, in order to function as a business, as everyone knows, you have to have money in order to be able to pay for the servers and all that sort of stuff. But the whole point is that you're adding something of value to what the community want, and I think people aren't stupid. People know that you're trying to sell something to them, and people shy away from that. I think we're especially today with everything that's going on social media and how much we're being advertised. And I mean, I'm going off a little tangent here, but I think in general the premise is that people are aware of what's going on, and as soon as you try and take shortcuts and trying to let's just get some coaches out live and so we can, that's not going to work. So I think adding depth to each game is very much important value for us.
Do you ever attend any of the big gaming events if people wanted to meet you in person?
I really wanted to go to last RLCS, and I said I would have gone if it was in EU, and it wasn't in EU. So it's been in NA. Yeah. So I think it's October, November, usual sort of time frame. I'm almost certainly planning on going to that. I don't know where it's going to be. Is it going to be in Paris? Is it going to be in Berlin? I don't know. But hopefully not too far away. I made the mistake. Sorry?
Hopefully you'll be there. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And lastly, how do you see the gaming industry growing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying before, I think the gaming industry is not going anywhere. I mean, it's, as I said, it's bigger than any other entertainment industry that's out there, and I think the correlation between that and esports is going to keep growing. I don't think there is much reason to believe that it's not going to be, maybe double the size in 5-10 years from now, in terms of the amount of people that are just interested in that. At the end of the day, people find entertainment by competing. I think that's a huge proponent of you look at sports in general, they're massive because there's competition. I think people enjoy that. People enjoy watching the best of the best competing against each other, and I think gaming is a really interesting, fun way of entertainment, and I think it's only going up from here.
Awesome. Alex, did you have a good time today?
I certainly did. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Everyone, a huge thank you to Alex for taking the time to do this interview with us today. All of his social media links will be in the description below, so be sure to drop a follow. I will also put the link for GamersRdy down there so you guys can all check that out. If there are any questions that you have that I did not ask today, please comment down below and let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Alex, do you have any last words for everyone?
I don't have anything specific in mind, but I definitely think that people should be hearing more about you. I think this whole community interviews that you're doing is really exciting, so keep it up.
Yo, thank you. That really means a lot. Everyone, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.